What's up, prospects? Coach Robbie here again. Hey, I really wasn't planning on shooting another vlog here for a couple of days. As you can tell, I still don't even have a voice, being sick with the flu all last week. And so it's just now slowly coming back. So if I sound like a 74-year-old man, hopefully y'all will pardon me for the time being. But of course, you know, nothing ever goes as planned. It's that time of the year where every prospect is starting to think about camps. What's up, prospects? Coach Robbie here again. I actually was not planning on shooting another vlog for a couple of days. And while I could talk about this for 6 days, I'm going to try to keep this as brief as possible because there's one very important point that I want to make. Right about this time of the year, all prospects are starting to try to plan out their camping schedule. For the most part, most travel teams should have their summer schedule planned out, if not their fall schedule too. And so they're starting to plot out, based on these weekends that I have open, what camps I should attend. And while I won't dive that far into that, you know, our prospects, they know they're supposed to go to their scout, and we make sure that everything is worth it and that everything lines up. Making sure that you're at the right camp and you're fishing in the right ponds is a totally different conversation, a totally different video. This point that I want to make, showcase camps. Showcase camps have grown by the dozens, year by year. I'm not going to go into any specifically. I'm not going to use any names. There are some that are good and serve a purpose and do things right, and there are some that, you know, I don't think for a second that anybody has any ill intention when they run a showcase camp. So even the ones that aren't great, I know that they still had the right intention. And hopefully that makes sense to you. It's not their fault that the camp isn't necessarily great. That being said, the thought process that most prospects have initially is you have these university-specific camps at the university, and then you have these showcase camps, which is what we call them, and which is essentially a camp that's ran by, you know, an external source that ends up having multiple colleges at the camp. And like I said, there are some that are good, some that are not phenomenal. That being said, the important part that I want to make sure and convey to you, because if you're watching this still, chances are you're probably starting to plan your showcase camps out for your summer too. And I hope that you hear me whenever I say this. Camps are not where you go to be randomly discovered. Camps are where you go to be validated, okay? Showcase camps are not where you go to be randomly discovered. Showcase camps are where you go to be validated, okay? So I want you to think about that for a split second. Is there a 1 or 2% of athletes out there that went to this showcase camp and the college coach, you know, knew nothing about the kid, and the kid just absolutely had a top-notch, you know, best day they've ever had, and something happened? Yeah, that's happened. You know, in all my years of scouting, I can name off a couple of different times where that kind of situation has happened. But that is the exception, not the rule. But I know parents that are watching this right now are thinking, but simple enough, Sally just needs to make sure that if I send her to this showcase camp, that she takes care of business and shows out, and it'll make something happen. Well, now you're still left with a bunch of other aspects of it that have to do with the rules and all this other stuff. But my point to that, I want to reiterate, showcase camps. Showcase camps are where you go to be validated, not to be randomly discovered. The reason that I have no problem recommending certain showcase camps to my prospects or to NSR prospects, if there are 10 coaches at this camp, let's call it the ABC Showcase Camp, and there are 10 coaches, and this prospect says, hey, I saw this on social media. Would this be a good camp for me? I have that weekend open. First thing I always tell them is, regardless, if you want to go for development and learning from the best in the business, absolutely. But now we look at these 10 schools. There are 4 that are at the right level for you to play at. And out of those 4, these 2 are done with your graduating class or position. So now out of that, 4, and out of those 4, 2 are done with your graduating class or position. And then one of these 2 is beyond the bubble, which is the max distance from home that you were wanting to look. So now what we're looking at is this one school. And so then, her thought is, well, there's, and I'm not going to name off any specific schools, but there's this Power 5 school, and there's this, and there's that. And, maybe I could do something, and the truth is, if you're a Power 5 kid, typically, you're a Power 5 kid. If you're a D1 kid, typically, not all the time, you're a D1 kid. My point to that is, regardless of if you don't know or you do, those showcase camps, it's where you go to get validated, not where you go to get randomly discovered. I've got kids playing at Power 5 schools right now that they were legit talent, but the team they played on didn't necessarily play in a lot of the right stuff. And good coaches, they had good coaches, and they played good competition, but they weren't going to the things where the coaches that she needed to be in front of were going to be at. And so this showcase camp, served as a solid purpose for it. Prime example, Jared Horton. I never hesitate to recommend some of his camps. Similarly, the Tulsa Invite during the summer, I never hesitate to recommend Flawley's camps or Danielle Cox Brock. Those camps that she's holding, and a lot of that's based on my experience. The proof is in the pudding. So if it's a situation where there's this list of coaches that are going to be working this showcase camp, and a prospect asks me, well, then what I do is I look at it and look and see, is this going to be worth her time or money? And if it is, then that's the case where I have the discussion with her, and her parents, and explain, here's this and this, here's this and this. This is how much of an opportunity it might or might not be. Now you make the decision as to whether or not you want to do it. And if she does decide to do it, obviously, I have a conversation with that coach. And so the best case scenario is, say there's a showcase camp this weekend on Saturday, and say I have, there's 10 college coaches that are going to be there, and I have a 22 catcher or shortstop that is asking me about attending. Best case scenario is I look through, the list to see, okay, out of these 10 coaches, there's 6 of them that still are looking at a 22 catcher or shortstop. Out of those 6, she can legitimately play for 3 of those, and is the right type of kid that coach would typically recruit. And out of those 3, there's only 2 that are within her bubble. So really, it's not go get in front of these 10 coaches. It's go prove yourself to these 2. And if prospect mom is the right type of kid that coach would typically recruit, and out of those 3, there's only 2 that are within her bubble. So really, it's not go get in front of these 10 coaches. It's go prove yourself to these 2. And if prospect mom and dad decide that that's still something that they want to go do, then absolutely, that's something that, we would push through. I don't want to dive too far into it. Like I said, I kind of intended on this being a shorter video, but those of y'all that know me know anything I say is never short. So ending this in under 10 minutes is a pretty solid accomplishment, if I have to say so myself. But the thing I can tell you, remember, showcase camps are where you go to get validated, whether it is the college coach has a need that matches you, whether it is, say you're not a prospect of mine, say you're not an MSR prospect, but say you've been communicating back and forth with this particular college coach, and now he's not necessarily been able to come see you, and you've not been able to get in front of him, but now he's going to be at this camp. That's an opportunity to go be validated. When you show up and there's 160 registrations, those other 159 girls can't hold a candle to the attention he's going to give you. And anybody who says that's any different is lying. Bottom line is, if y'all have had communication and you feel like there's a mutual interest there, he's going to pay more attention to you, or she's going to pay more attention to you in order to validate whether or not you're worth them continuing to spend their time on you. And it's nothing personal, it's business. But that being said is where you go to be validated, not where you go to be randomly discovered. And so it's either, what schools are going to be there? Can I play there? Have I been in contact with them? Is there a possibility there for me? And there's a lot more to it, and maybe I'll do another video that'll go more in depth and answer a little bit of y'all's questions. If y'all have questions in particular about camps, it's kind of that time of the year, so put them down in the comments. By all means, you can send me a message. Private message me, send me an email, rwilson@nsr-inc.com. But put them down in the comments if you have specific questions when it comes to camps. Camps can be a huge tool. Can be, in my opinion, probably one of the most valuable tools right now with the way the landscape is changing a little bit. And just like any tool, it can be misused a million times until you understand it. So by all means, if you have extra questions, leave them down in the comments. Do me a favor and hit that like button. And again, pardon the voice, pardon the energy, still sick. I appreciate y'all being with me. I'll catch y'all.